Good evening, all of you.
Good evening, madam.
Still four, right? Okay. I'm going to share my screen. So let's start the discussion. Others will join, right? Otherwise, time is also passing. Right. Okay. So this is unit number 3. I'm going to have the discussion today on the third unit, right? And already I have sent the lecture material to you, right? I think for some time ago. Hope you all have received the lecture material that is relevant to today's discussion. This one here, unit 3 is there, and these are the areas of study. Okay, by the way, may I know whether you have the lecture materials, whether you have got it? Because not very recently I sent it, right? Some time ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Now in this unit, we are going to pay our attention to these areas, right? Basically, these are the areas that are discussed here, that are going to be discussed. Methods, approaches, and techniques of English language teaching, right? Methods, approaches, techniques, as well as this one, recent trends. So when you look at the subtopics, you will find, right? These are the subtopics that come under methods, approaches, and trends. The English language teaching methods that were used earlier, and also the recent trends, okay? Rather than talking about the recent trends, before that, the modern techniques, the quite old techniques and the modern techniques and the very recent trends in the field of ELT, right? In the field of teaching English language. So the whole unit is based on this area. Okay, now in our other units, we didn't get a chance to touch this. But I believe that you all have had some chances in other modules, maybe in other modules or in, not in this module anyway, right? Maybe in a previous semester to talk about this area, right? Am I correct? Whether you have been exposed to this sort of a discussion on methods, approaches, and techniques of ELT, like especially talking about ELT methods on grammar translation method, direct method, audiolingual methods, so on and so on, right? May I know whether you all have talked about this area elsewhere? I mean, in another module or in another semester, wherever, whatever? I just want to know whether this area is totally new to you all. If I know about it, then it will be easy for me to continue the discussion, because if you already know a certain of these methods, right, then I can go a little bit fast. Sumaya, what do you think? Do you all have any understanding or any exposure to this aspect?
Yeah, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Which areas you all have discussed? By the way, not with me, right?
I think when I approach little
Uh-huh.
bit
Hmm. Which approach? You mean CLT? Others also can talk actually, right? Actually, I just want to clear out some gray areas. That is why at the beginning I'm asking from you. I need to avoid repetition also. Yeah, Sumaya? No idea. I mean, not sure.
yeah, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So what about these methods anyway? This area? Just don't bother about Dr. West new method, right? I am not touching that, although it's there. Other methods, old methods. Okay. Could you all please let me know whether I should discuss in detail or I should go fast, because actually we have so many areas ahead to be discussed. Anyway, today I limit myself to the discussion of this unit number 3. But in another session, there will be more topics to be touched, right? Especially, I want to tell you in this module, we have micro teaching, because teaching of English, right? We are talking about teaching aspect here. So micro teaching is a prominent area. It's there in this module. And talking about micro teaching, we have to talk about the theory as well as practice, right? Then practice should happen, and for that also we have some time. So we have so many theoretical and practical activities to be done ahead. Okay, so that is why I'm again and again asking from you whether you all are already exposed to this sort of a discussion, whether you have some knowledge about grammar translation method or direct method, this, and even communicative language teaching, right? What do you all think?
The methods are new to us, ma'am.
These are new to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Even these things, then trends, task-based language teaching, and all these things.
We in HND we studied the task-based language, ma'am.
Okay, right. Well, okay, I got some idea. Well, then we will start the discussion, right? But the thing is, here all these are theoretical things, no? In the sense, practically you don't have to do anything. What is expected from you in this part, in this section, is that you all have to know what each and every method is, what each and every approach is. Okay, what each and every technique or trend is. You have to know. You have to have a very clear understanding. I'm not telling memory, right? I mean, you will have memory once you understand these things. So don't give priority to memorize or learn by heart. No, you have to understand, especially the differences. For example, the difference between GTM and direct method. GTM means grammar translation method, in short. Okay, likewise, develop the ability to compare and contrast these methods and approaches. Okay, right? Likewise, critically try to understand and think critically. That's it. That is what is expected from you. Otherwise, don't think of trying to remember these facts like a parrot. That is of no use. Okay, right. Okay, then we'll start our work. I'm going to start with the methods then. Okay, first the subtopic that is on methods. And you can find, if you have the lecture material now, you would find there are long explanations actually, right? Lengthy explanations. And most of the time I may not be sticked into these lines. Because line reading, you also can do, no? Right? Without a lecturer, you also can read the lines. But rather than reading the lines, I am giving you the brief idea, and then and there necessary, I may be explaining, right? But you need to tally everything you discuss here, understand here with the note, right? Okay. Sometimes I'm reading the parts available here also. Okay. What do you think about the methods? After all, before even talking about grammar translation method or direct method or whatever, first of all, you have to know, you have to have some understanding about what methods are. Okay. The methods of teaching is determined by the aims for which it is taught. Now, talking about the teaching method. Now, we are starting with the methods here. Then there are so many methods available as you saw that came as the subtopics. So then which method are we going to use as an English language teacher? What does decide that? Okay, what does decide whether as a teacher, I am going to teach English language using direct method or using grammar translation method or using communicative language teaching likewise? What is the deciding factor? That is this, right? Aims. Aims for which it is taught. Okay, right. So aims in the sense, why are we using, or why are we, in the sense, what, rather than why, right? I'm sorry, rather than why, what are we teaching? And what is the purpose? What kind of objective is expected to be achieved at the end of the delivery of the lesson? Okay, that is what you mean by aim, no? Aims, objectives, and goals of a lesson, right? Depending on this aim or objective, right, we have to, as the teacher, we have to decide which method would be suitable to follow, to deliver that particular lesson. Okay, right. So always give priority to think about the lesson objectives, because objectives and aims are not the same throughout the lesson. Throughout the same lesson, not the same lesson, throughout several lessons. For each and every lesson, there are different aims and objectives. Depending on that, you need to select which method would be suitable. Like that is the idea given in this first line. Okay, and when you talk about this, comes to talk about this English language teaching. Teaching English language as a second language or as a foreign language, we have to be more particular about this factor, right? If the aim of learning English is to know the information, as a learner, you are learning English to get some information about the vocabulary, especially about grammar rules. Okay, if the learner's aim is to get information, to know the information, then the suitable method would be grammar translation method. Okay, that is one example. Another example, if the aim of learning English is for communication purposes, rather than knowing information about the language, you learn English in order to get the ability to communicate. Then it would be direct method rather than the grammar translation method. Your teacher should use the direct method. Then it will be easy for you as a learner, for you to learn the English language to achieve your goal of communication. Like that, this aim or the objective is the deciding factor, right? In selecting the appropriate method. Okay. Then we'll see about GTM. GTM is the oldest method, right? It is the oldest method where teacher translates every word, phrase, and sentence of English into mother tongue for the easy comprehension by the students. Okay, you can understand when you refer to this topic, it is grammar translation method. So there are two things happening, okay? Two things. One thing is the word grammar. The other word is translation, right? So you need to understand what you mean by the word grammar here. In the grammar translation method, the attention is given to grammar, the grammar rule. Okay, I'm telling you the basic idea here behind GTM, okay? When the teacher uses GTM to teach the English language, that teacher gives prominence to teach the grammatical rules, grammatical structures. Okay? That is the focus of the teacher. And the teacher wants the learners to learn the grammar structures of the target language, here English language, very clearly and accurately. Okay, that is one aspect. And the other aspect is related to the word translation. Then how does the teacher teach grammatical rules? Mainly through the method of translation. There the teacher makes the learners or the students translate, okay, from mother tongue to the target language and vice versa, from target language to mother tongue as well. Okay, so the learners are translating, doing so many translation works, translation activities, and in this whole work, okay, accuracy is at the top. In the sense, teacher wants the accuracy. Accuracy means correctness, correct translation. The grammar structures should be very much correct, accurate in the translation works. Okay, right. We'll just have a look at some of these points. It is easy for both teachers and students as the teacher is translating everywhere. Even the teacher, right? First of all, teacher models herself in doing the translations, right? Teacher is taking a sentence and translating it word by word. Okay, from English into the mother tongue of the students. And then students are imitating through the medium of the mother tongue. Okay, this is the other factor. In this work, mother tongue is used by the teacher in order to explain, right? When the grammar rules are taught by the teacher, mostly mother tongue is used as the medium of instruction. Using mother tongue, teacher explains grammar rules. So you should understand in GTM, mother tongue is very much used, and that is one factor why GTM is easy for both the teacher as well as the learner, because mother tongue is used by both parties, right? Right, here GTM emphasizes learning of grammar as I told to you, and which is taught deductively. That means presentation, by presentation and study of grammar rule. Deductively, here deductive is the opposite word of inductive, right? Deductive means you just think you are a learner here, okay? You directly get the grammar rules, get the knowledge of the grammar rules, either by presentations or by presentations by the teacher, by listening to the teacher, or by studying the grammar rules. You directly get to know the grammar rules directly. In the sense, the teacher is teaching the grammar rules one by one in a methodical manner directly to the learners. For example, subject-verb agreement rule. Okay, this is the subject-verb agreement rule, which means you need to keep the verb according to the number of the subject, according to the person of the subject. An example is this. Likewise, teacher is introducing the grammar rule. And most of the time, teacher uses mother tongue, right, for the explanations, right? That is what is meant by learning deductively or teaching deductively, directly teaching the grammar rule. Okay. Yeah, the structures of the foreign language are compared and contrasted with those of the mother, and this is also happening there. Meanwhile, okay, here foreign language or second language, in the sense, according to our situation, English language. Then in using the GTM, the teacher compares the grammar structures of both languages, mother tongue and the English language, the target language. Actually, grammar structures are taught to the learners through comparison. Comparison and contrast are there. So the teacher is paying attention to these differences between mother tongue and the target language while teaching grammar. So the learners have the chance to get a very wide knowledge about the grammar structures if the teacher uses GTM. Right now, there are some principles of GTM. 3 principles are listed out here. Okay. Translation interprets foreign words, phrases, sentences in the best possible manner. Because, you know, in GTM, teacher uses translation. So, translation works are used. Translation activities are used with the assumption, right, that translation interprets foreign words. Foreign here means the target language words, phrases, or sentences in the best possible manner. In the assumption, right? This is a kind of principle, means an assumption, where the translation is interpreting these target language elements or items like words, phrases, sentences correctly in the best possible manner, right? Correctly. That is one assumption. But if translation goes wrong, the students will acquire or learn a wrong pattern. That risk is there. To minimize that risk, this assumption is there, right? And in the process of interpretation, foreign words, phrases, and sentences are best integrated. Best integrated means combined, right? The process of interpretation is at its best level integrated or combined, right? Another principle, the structures of the foreign language are best learned when compared and contrasted with those of the mother tongue. Okay, these are the 3 principles. One is translation itself interprets these target language elements correctly. Okay. Second principle, the process of interpretation of these target language elements are is happening, right? Is happening correctly, best integrated actually. Foreign words, phrases, and sentences are very well combined in the process of interpretation. Third principle, the learners are learning the target language at their best when comparisons and contrast are happening between target language and the mother tongue. Okay, by listening to these things, so by reading these lines, you might think these are complicated. No, actually, right? They are not that complicated. Simple ideas are there. Sometimes you might have to read it twice or maybe thrice to grab the idea, but I told it very simply. Okay, translation is considered to be best means, and this second principle, this interpreting target language elements are happening correctly best integrated. And the third principle, learners are learning very well at their best level when comparisons are happening between two languages. These are the three ideas, right? So GTM is based on these three principles. If any of these three principles goes wrong or proves to be wrong or not successful, grammar translation method itself will not be successful, right? Okay. There are some advantages as well as disadvantages. Okay. Right. What are the advantages then? One thing is GTM is an easy method, and you know why, right? Because of the use of the mother tongue. Please read all these lines by yourselves. Okay, I am here taking the main idea. Mother tongue usage is the reason why we say it's easy for both the teacher as well as the learner, right, to be used. And then another advantage, GTM helps in building vocabulary, right? Building vocabulary, you know, why is that now? Can you guess why? Because of translation. For you to translate from one language to another language, right? You have to know the words, not only the grammar structures, at the same time, you have to know words. But if you do not know words, you can't do the translation work properly. Here in GTM, translation is a must. Okay. So if you want to learn the English language, you have to do it via translation. So imagine that you don't have enough knowledge about the vocabulary, then you can't do the translation. So therefore, you have to know the words. Therefore, GTM is a good means for the learner to build up a very good vocabulary, right? Big number of words can be exposed by the learner in involving in the process of translation, right? So that is another benefit. And another advantage that the teacher is comfortable. Why is that? The teachers don't need to labor hard either in the preparation lesson plan and in the process of implementing the teaching items in the class, right? He doesn't need to think of the ways and means to explain new words even without using audio-visual aids. Okay, this kind of the use of the audio-visual aids, that kind of things are not happening mostly in GTM, right? These supplementary materials or these teaching aids, especially using audio-visual aids, are not focused here in GTM, right? The only focus is teaching grammar through translation. So in that sense, additional work is not there for the teacher. That is why the teacher is said to be comfortable, right? Additional burden, additional workload, that kind of things are not available, right? And then comprehension is easily tested, other benefit. Yeah, the teacher can easily check or test whether the students have understood, whether they have the comprehension, right? Comprehending ability of English can be easily checked because of the use of the mother tongue, right? By using the mother tongue, teacher can ask questions so that the learners, they too find it easy to answer. So comprehension can be done easily, can be checked easily, right? And other and most important benefit I should say is this last one. Proper grammar is taught easily. English grammar is taught very easily by comparing it with the grammar of the mother tongue, right? Actually, this is the best point I should tell about the benefits. because GTM itself is a very good method if you want to master, right, grammar. You can't get that much of a very good grammar knowledge from any other method, right? From any other method like CLT or direct method or anything, like the knowledge you get from grammar translation. Okay, right. So that is the best advantage, but still there are disadvantages. One is that the criticisms raised against GTA, they are given as disadvantages here, right? It is an unnatural method, not natural. Okay, logical sequence of learning a language is, right, LSRW, no? I think elsewhere we were talking about this. LSRW, logical sequence. First, you are teaching listening, then speaking, reading, and writing. Okay. But talking about using the grammar translation method, this order is broken. Or this natural order is broken. Where does grammar come actually? Okay, can you guess where grammar comes here? In this order, listening, speaking, reading, writing. Hmm. Can you guess?
More
Grammar is
attention is given
yeah,
Writing,
to
ma'am.
reading.
this part, in this latter part, reading and writing, because you learn grammar via translation, no? Right? So to do the translation, first you have to read the given sentence and write the translation. Only reading and writing are involved. So it itself damages, like breaks down the natural order of language learning and acquisition. Okay, right. Here, this part actually I have taken some almost all these parts from the available module, and you might find it confusing if you read this line. Okay, I want you to remove this line actually, because I have done a lot of editing, because this module is basically giving attention to the Indians, right? Indian graduates, talking about the Indian context, teaching and learning the English language in the context of India. So that is not very much relevant to our discussion here. So I am paying my attention to the theoretical aspects, not the practical aspect of the Indian society. But sometimes this editing is not happening properly. So please remove this line, okay? You don't have to bother too much about the Indian context there. And whatever we discuss in this module, please try to apply to the Sri Lankan situation, right? In Sri Lanka, what is happening like that? Whether the teachers are using GTM. Okay, I'll ask that question from you once I finish with this. So therefore, this line, just don't bother too much, right? Okay, the bracketed part here. And another problem in GTM is that speech is neglected, right? Speech is neglected. The teacher does never pay any attention to the speaking aspect. You know what? Language is primarily based on speaking. No, language itself is speech. The primary concern of using a language is to communicate orally. Written part comes later. Even in linguistics, that's so, no, right? Linguistic means study of the natural languages in the spoken aspect. Likewise, in education part, also teaching learning field, we can see speaking aspect should be given the prominence, right? But here, that is not there. The speaking aspect is not given any chance, right? So that idea is given here. Yeah. Then no room for pattern practice, right? The JTM method doesn't give any room for pattern practice, practicing patterns. Hence, the students are not able to speak English correctly. So, pattern practice is also related to speaking, right? Getting to know the most prominent patterns, expressions, right? Learning them so that the students can use them in appropriate situations during simulations, role plays, dialogues, conversations, right, etc. They can use these like patterns that are frequently used. But that aspect is also ignored here in GTM because we do not talk about anything about speaking. That's it. And no possibility for habit formation also. Because as there is no speech or no pattern practice, habit formation is not possible. Right? Habit formation means you use language over and over again, then getting to know some patterns, practicing patterns that lead to the formation of habits. We say language habits. To have or to form language habits, you should get a chance. You should get actually so many chances to use language orally. Then only you identify some frequently used patterns, right? And then you get in familiar with them and you start using them in your next opportunities where you have to speak the language. So that kind of scenario is not available here because no chance for the oral aspect, for the speaking. Right? Okay. Hope these disadvantages are clear and they continue, right? There are so many disadvantages. Exact translation is not possible, are the problem. Okay, exact translation. I think you can understand this point because do you think that all the time we can go for 100% accurate translation from one language to another language? It is not so because, you know, translation from one language to another language is not just translating a set of words from one language to the set of words from to another language, right? It involves the culture which is represented by the that so-called language. Not only the culture, right? Now, when you talk about culture, it includes a lot of things, lifestyle, traditions, history. All these things are interrelated to language. Language is not a separate element, right? It is connected to all these elements. But when you translate from one language to another language, you have to have a very good understanding about both cultures. Okay. But if you do not have that idea, then your translation may not be 100% correct. Sometimes, not even learners, right? But even a person who knows both languages, both cultures, that kind of a person even might find it difficult to translate. Because certain words, certain concepts available in one language may not be available in another language. Sometimes in the target language, you may never find the exact word or equivalent word because that concept is not available in the target language. Then what to do? Right? Like idiomatic expressions, examples. For idiomatic expressions, they are not, in English are not possible at all in some other languages. Right? Then if you do somehow, if you manage to do translation in such a situation, your translated sentence may not make any sense. Okay? That risk is there. That is the idea here in the fourth point. Exact translation is not possible all the time. Okay. And another disadvantage, rule govern learning. Language is used in situation, right? So it's not possible to learn any language by learning its rules. But in a grammar translation method, actually rule govern learning is there. No? Teacher is teaching the rule, telling, okay, Lama, you have to use these rules. Remember these rules, learn these rules by heart, and use these rules when you translate from mother tongue to the English language. Likewise, everything is revolving around the rule govern nature. But when you naturally think about language, okay, use of language, do you think always we are concerned with the rules? when we are using the language, right? No. Language is used in situation. According to the situation, appropriate variety of language is chosen. So only by learning the rules, you can't say you know or you have learned language very well. There is a saying there in the words of Dr. Ballard, right? To speak any language, whether native or foreign, entirely by rule is quite impossible. So learning only the rules of a language is not enough. You have to know about the functional aspect of language also. That word is not there in the note, right? Not the form. Form means rule, but also the functional aspect. What or why language is used for, to get what kind of things done. Okay, that part is not touched in rule governed nature. So that is the biggest problem in GTA. And another one, students are not active, right? Students are not active because, only teacher is active. Teacher is teaching, delivering the grammar patterns, and students, they are just listening. And they don't have any chance to think critically. They are just passively listening. Okay, you know very well, when there is passive learning takes place, no critical thinking, right? The developing language skills will not happen, right? Okay, because they don't get a chance to think critically, think something of their own, and no chance to like involve in logical thinking. That is what I mean by no critical thinking. So therefore, they just follow what the teacher says. That's all. Very mechanical and quite passive. So language skills are not developed in that kind of situation. Not healthy for a learner to develop language, right? And it is uninteresting after all. Uninteresting. Because translation, okay. Now, what do you think about yourselves? Okay, wait. Yeah, next we have direct method. No? Okay, before we go into the direct method, I would like to ask a question from you all about your experiences. As learners, do you have any experience in learning the English language through GTM? Have you learned English through grammar translation method? In the sense, have your English teacher in your schooling time, right? Or maybe in your, if you have attended any class or followed any course or whatever, wherever, has your teacher used grammar translation method to teach grammar structures of the English language? If you have any idea, I would like if you could share. Yes. No idea. Any response? I think now we all got some understanding about the nature of grammar translation. Okay. I was talking about the principles and advantages and disadvantages. So you know something about this. You mean you have not learned English language using grammar translation method? No, not done any translation at all while you were learning the English language. What are your experiences?
I have the experience as a not as a student, ma'am, but as a teacher, ma'am, for training.
So you have taught English language using grammar translation method. Is that
Yes. Yes, ma'am. When I was doing my Viva training,
Ah.
I teach this method for some students.
Okay. So anyway, a very limited time then you must have used it. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So was that experience enough for you to give some idea regarding whether it is successful or not?
No, ma'am, that is not successful, ma'am.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
If the
Only
same-
if the students who are very active and who are so passionate to learn English, they will learn quickly. But those who are unable to learn, I should go near beside to them and I should explain every word to them, every word to them. Then only they will understand.
Okay, right. That's clear. So that problem is there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, all the students do not get the equal benefit, right? Yeah, that's right. And even this last point matters then, I hope, right? It's uninteresting means translation works are not quite enthusiastic for all, no? Right? So those who are not willing, due to so many reasons, maybe they don't know the vocabulary, they don't have enough, even if the teacher explains, they don't have enough knowledge about grammar, right? So no idea about the culture involved at all. So therefore, because of those reasons, translation works may not be that much interesting. It itself is a failure then of GTM method, right? Grammar translation method. Yeah. Okay. Right. So then that is about the grammar translation method. Hope the others also got some idea, although I didn't hear anything from the others, right? Only Philip was talking. Yeah. Okay. Next we have direct method. Right. So you should take it like this. Actually, direct method was introduced uh, instead of grammar translation method due to these shortcomings or drawbacks that are available in grammar translation method. This direct method was next introduced. Okay, right. So if a language is taught directly, now as the word itself suggests, you know what direct method is. Directly the language is taught, right? Immediate association between experience and expression in words, phrase and meaning is possible. Then there are all possibilities for learning the language, right? Immediate association between experience and expression of that experience via words, phrases, right? Conveying the exact meaning. Direct method. I have a short video clip. I'll play that also. Okay, you can get a clear idea then. The basic aim of direct method is to teach any foreign language, including the English language here, through conversation, discussion, and reading in the target language by associating the experience and expression without using the student's mother tongue. So the mother tongue of the learners does not come in between the teacher and the learner here, right? Does not interfere to the teaching learning process. Unlike the GTM. You know, in GTM, the teacher has to use the mother tongue to do the explanations. But here, mother tongue is not there in the scene. So directly the teacher is using the target language to convince the learners, right? To convince or to make the learners understand about what the teacher is trying to say. Teacher uses only the target language. That's all. So usually direct method is applied when there are conversations, discussions, readings are happening using the target language only, right? As classroom activities. So there are principles here also. Yeah. What are the principles? There are eight different principles before we go to talk about the disadvantages and advantages. Yeah. Yeah, could you please go through these principles? Because there are 8 different principles. I need you to get the rough idea, and then I highly appreciate if some of you could brief these things, right? So that I can check whether you all are understanding these points, because all the time I'm telling, I'm explaining without getting any feedback. Only one or two students are giving me, right? Okay, so therefore I'm going to give you the chance now. Just go through these 8 principles and be familiar. I mean, just get to know what you mean by these things. I'll give you 2-3 minutes for that. Okay. Yes, who would like to brief the first principle. Brief in the sense you don't have to be reading this, right? After reading, you must have got some idea, no? So is there anybody who likes to tell very briefly the idea? The point is oral practice. What do you mean by the oral practice? Here the direct method, huh? Right. What do you mean by this? Anybody who is willing to share what you have understood? Yes. No, I'm just checking who would bring himself or herself forward in this matter, right? No one is willing. So is that mean like this is not clear? Yes, Philip?
Shall I give an explanation, ma'am?
Yeah. You are most welcome.
The teacher will teach the English in English only without the mother tongue. So the student should catch what the teacher is telling, and the students also should talk on what the teacher is telling to them instead of using their mother tongue. Without using their mother tongue, they should try to understand. They should acquire the English knowledge, and they should with that knowledge they should communicate with the teachers and others.
Okay, right. That is the idea. And Philip, you need to add this as well, right? This one, the latter part, oral practice helps the students to associate with the objects and ideas for which they stand, right? That means I hope everybody can get the brief idea behind this line, because now usually what's happening is that actually that is the very point behind oral practice or the direct method. When the students have to produce language, usual thing is they think in their mother tongue, then convert it into the target language, to the English language. Even if when you ask them to write something, write an essay or something, they think in Sinhala, then convert the ideas from Sinhala to English or from Tamil to English. When they have to talk something also in English, they think in their mother tongue and then put it to the target language. But here in a direct method, that kind of way is discouraged, right? The teacher is making the learners think in the target language and express in the target language, associating with the objects and ideas for which they stand, right? Object and idea, both are interrelated here. But in the usual method, it's not a method, right? The usual way, what happens that between the object and the expression, the mother tongue comes in between. Did you get that idea?
Yes, ma'am.
Philip?
Yes, ma'am. I got it.
That is the most important focus here in direct method. That is why we call it direct method, right? Okay, and I really appreciate, Philip, your sharing of the ideas. And what about this second or even third principles? Is there anybody who is willing to share? Tilini?
Yeah, madam, translation is completely ignored, and therefore learners mainly focus about the target language.
Yeah, are you talking about the second one?
Yes, ma'am, second one.
Okay, restrain the mother tongue. Right. Translation, are you talking about translation here? Tilini? In the second principle, we tell the mother tongue is limited, right? Restrained. The mother tongue. Students are taught by showing the real objects or performing action. So this is the point, right? Teacher is teaching to the student, showing the real. Sometimes the teacher is modeling or demonstrating real objects or performing actions or by suitable illustration in context directly, right? And this makes them to think in English and they learn to respond also in English. This is related to this point also. Okay, and the same thing looked at in different ways. Right. So translations are not, actually translations or the mother tongue usage is almost not there. Okay, right. What about the third one? The sentence is the unit of speech. Anybody who has understood this? Actually, when I'm giving you the chance to think and talk, it takes long time. But still, it's important. Otherwise, you are just passively listening, right? Passively listening, most probably. You need to involve in understanding these points. Who would like to talk about the third idea, third principle? Yeah. The sentence is the unit of speech. No single, what's this? In English has a single meaning. No single word. All the words have connotative meaning. So in direct method, meanings are taught contextually, right? I mean, this attention is not given to word. Okay. Attention is given to the sentence. That means sentence is considered to be the unit of speech. When we talk about sentence, it can contain some idea and some quantitative meaning, kind of idea that is expressed by that sentence, right? Rather than single words. So in direct method, this communicating of meaning is actually taught to the learners how to communicate meanings based on the context, in association with the context. But that kind of thing we didn't see in grammar translation method. We did not associate the context there. But you know very well, according to the context, depending on the context, the language changes. The meaning we convey changes. That is considered in direct method. That's the idea there. Okay. And number 4, grammar is taught inductively. Earlier, GTM, grammar is taught deductively, right? But here it's inductive. Inductive means while doing the things, rules are learned. Rules are not learned directly. The teacher is not directly teaching the rules. And the learners are not learning the rules directly either. Okay. So they are framing the rules from the language they learn. Sometimes the teacher, okay, for example, the teacher is telling a story, right? We'll say teacher is telling a story in English. And by listening to this story, small story, the learners are getting to know about some grammar structures. Maybe, for example, the use of simple past tense. How to change the verb according to the simple past tense. The regular verb patterns, irregular verb patterns, everything. You don't find the teacher is directly teaching how to put the verb in the simple past tense. No, not like that. Teacher is just narrating the story, emphasizing the actions there, right? Sometimes repeating the verbs, okay? Teacher is just narrating, and by listening to that, sometimes with the support of audio visual aids, right? The students are getting to know about the grammar structures, and something like that is what we call inductive learning. Learning grammar inductively, and that is totally opposite of what is happening in grammar translation method. That's the idea there, right? Number 5, Is number 5 clear to you all? Opportunities to learn new vocabulary?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Yeah. There are chances, opportunities available to learn new vocabulary, and that advantage was there actually. That is there in GTM also as an advantage. Okay. So that's a principle here also. And supports in written work. Fluency in speech help in written work. So only thing that the students have to concentrate is to mind on their spelling. Yeah. By using the direct method, some kind of emphasis is going to the not only to the speech, right? But also to the written part. So both skills are improved. Basically the spoken skill, right? And also with that parallelly listening skill plus the writing skill, right? And promotes the study of literature. How about that? The students are able to further proceed to enjoy literature with the knowledge they gain in oral and written aspects of the target language. So the teacher can expose the students to literary works, study of the literary works by using the direct method. Okay, that is possible. And accommodates audiovisual aids. So this was not there in GTM, right? Audiovisual aids are used in the direct method. And in the video, you are going to see the teacher is using audiovisual aids. Actually, visual aids are used. Even audio, both audiovisual aids are possible, right? Okay, and that is a direct contrast between GTM and this one. There are disadvantages. What about that? It is, there are, we'll see how many, right? 6 different disadvantages. It's not a complete method. The biggest criticism faced against this method is that it's not complete because it neglects reading and writing. To some extent, writing is there, but reading is not very much promoted. So therefore, that method is not providing a balanced knowledge. Balanced language development is not there, right? It's incomplete. And also, another disadvantage, for us to use the direct method, the teacher should be very much competent, okay, in using the English according to the level of the students. But what will happen if the teacher lacks communicative ability or communication skills, right? And if the teacher stumbles, then this direct method will fail. It will collapse. Okay. The teacher, this doesn't mean actually the teacher should have a very good knowledge about the English language. Not only that, teacher should be able to communicate very clearly with the learners, with the students. If what the teacher says is not clear to the learners, then there is no communication. So direct method fails. And it demands linguistically qualitative students also. Not only the competency of the teachers, but also this student's ability, right? Why is that? As the discussion and teaching are all there in English, it demands highly linguistically interested, qualitative students. Otherwise, the efforts of the teachers will be futile, right? Now, in the sense, the idea is this. If the students are unable to understand what the teacher is telling, then the goal of using direct method will not be achieved. The teacher is in vain talking and teaching if the students are unable to understand. So the idea here is the students should have some kind of knowledge, prior knowledge on the English language for the teacher to use the direct method. Right. Another problem, non-availability of proper aids. Right? Yeah. Non-availability of the suitable facilities or aids that can be used, that should be used in direct method. And overcrowded classes, another problem. Because, you know, usually in Sri Lanka also we have that problem, right? There are large classes, overcrowded sometimes. Then doing a direct method is not that much practical. Direct method is quite appropriate with small classes because individual attention to each and every learner can be paid by the teacher. At least the teacher can know whether the students are involved, whether they are grabbing what the teacher is delivering. But if the class is overcrowded or large, it's no way, right? And difficult verbal explanation. Another disadvantage. Teachers are forced to rely on verbal explanation, right? Apart from it being difficult, it leads to boredom as verbal is a constant villain in the classroom, right? Using words. Sometimes, there are visual learners also. So if the teacher is kept on teaching English language verbally, right, all the time, sometimes there are some students who do not prefer verbal style may be discouraged, right? So they find it difficult to always to switch on, right, to the verbal methods, right, to the words. They don't like the words to be used all the time. There are kinesthetic learners, there are visual learners, right? Okay, where the words are not very much used. So in that sense, in direct method, teacher has to use words, no? Has to use words, explain the things using words. So there is a clash there, right? Then that's a problem. Okay, right? These are the things you need to know about the direct method. And I'm going to show you that small video clip, right? Okay, just look at this.
Okay, everyone. They are studying at school. They are studying at school. Repeat. Excellent. She is speaking English. She is speaking English. Repeat. Good. He is writing on his book. He is writing on his book. Repeat. Good. I am walking slowly. I am walking slowly. Repeat. Excellent. They are running in class. They are running in class. Repeat. Excellent. Now, I am dancing. I am walking. I am running. Now, what am I doing right now? Yes, you are. I am dancing. Very good. Now, what is Carla doing? Yes, she is writing. Very good. Now, is she running? No, she isn't. Repeat. No, she is not. Or isn't. No, she isn't. Exactly. What about Juana? Is she dancing or sitting down? Sitting down. Is she dancing or sitting down? Yes, she is sitting down. Very good, very good. Okay, everyone. They
Was it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Hope you got some idea about the direct method, how the direct method is used in teaching the English language, right? And that is an online class. The teacher is teaching to the students online, right? But still she is having a very good interaction with the students in teaching actions, right? She was teaching actions, and you saw, I think, how the teacher is teaching, like telling the students about the nature of the action she was doing them. So that is something like teaching directly, right? Direct method. So we didn't see any single mother tongue word used by the teacher there. So without that, she manages in communicating the meanings by using the target language words only, right? Okay. So there are these problems as well, but direct method is considered to be more effective than the grammar translation method, right? Okay, then we have audiolingual method. This is called army method also, right? It's a style of teaching used in teaching foreign languages, even including the English language. And this emerged at the time of World War II, right? Second World War, and equal to direct method as the foreign language is taught directly, right? And this considered LSRW as the logical sequence by the learner should learn the language, right? LSRW, you know about this. Several times we were talking about this. According to this principle, we say listening it should happen first. And that is the most important thing in developing the proficiency, linguistic proficiency of the learner, right? So it can be done effectively through listening first, then speaking. And articulation is more proper by hearing the sounds, and the learners develop a liking for the language, right? Articulation happens during the speaking stage. And listening is foundation for speaking. So, yeah. We neglect this fact and treat it as incidental to speaking rather than treating as a foundation. Yeah, right. So this part, listening and speaking, are given prominence here in audio-lingual method. Okay, that's the main idea there. Right. So oral skills are practiced systematically in developing communication skills. So communication is given priority in audiolingual method, right? Those who are following the audiolingual method believe communication is the prime purpose, right? In using language. So they cater to that. So how do they cater to that? They use oral skills. They practice the oral skills of the learners in a systematically way, right? In order to develop the communication skills, right? Practice. Practice in all the 4 language skills is given prominence as it will lead to habit formation also. All the 4 language skills are there, but mostly speaking skill, right? Okay. There are merits and demerits. Merits here means advantages, right? Okay, what are the benefits or advantages? Here you find in audio-lingual method. Oral skills developed in a meticulous manner. Oral skills. This oral, A-U-R-A-L, oral is related to the listening, right? And O-R-A-L is related to speaking. So when you say oral skills, that means listening and speaking skills. They are improved very well. Okay, in audio lingual method. And another merit, teaching of vocabulary is made effective by the use of visual aids, right? This is also there. Use of visual aids, right? And universally accepted pronunciation and proper structure are acquired. Okay, universally accepted pronunciation. Here we mean more or less, we mean the standard pronunciation. Universally accepted means standard pronunciation. And the proper structure. All these things can be acquired by the learner in audio lingual method, right? The basic principle is to be functional and easy for a large group. Yeah. It is easy to use, to be used in a large group or large size classrooms, and designed based on the theory of language learning, right? Okay. These are some of the plus points that a teacher as well as the learners find somewhat easy, right? To use the audiolingual methods, but at the same time, these demerits are there. The behaviorist theory of language learning is not considered prominently. By now, you know about this behaviorism, innatism, all these theories in relation to the first language acquisition, right? So what does the behaviorist theory say? Earlier also we found this now, right? Behaviorist theory means you acquire language by habit formation, by imitation, and reinforcement, habit formation and reinforcement. These are the key principles of behaviorist theory, right? And in audio-lingual method, it is said that behaviorist theory is not considered prominently there, right? Because this audio-lingual method is quite not natural, right? It's mechanical, more mechanical there. The method is almost guided learning as it is dominated by the teacher. This is the key idea, right? Guided learning. Audiolingual method is guided, controlled by the teacher, dominated by the teacher. Control practice is there. The students are not given the freedom to use language as they wish. Always the teacher is providing the students with the necessary patterns to be practiced, okay, before doing a speaking activity. Guided learning is there, and the learners are passive here also. Okay, they don't have much control over their learning. Who has the control? The teacher. And the scope for learning analytically is not there as it demands pattern practice, drilling and memorization over functional learning. Now, hope you have some idea about pattern practice. Earlier also we talked, and drilling. Drilling means repeating after the teacher. And you know about memorization, right? Learning by heart. So these things are there in audiolingual method rather than talking or paying attention to the functional learning. Functional aspect of learning is not there, right? I mean, that means learning a language about the functional aspect, how language can be used or how language can be changed according to different functions. Okay, according to different context, according to different situations. Functional aspect is that, for example, we can use language to command something, to order something, to request something, to interrogate something, to ask for something, and to express our surprise, etc. These are different functional aspects, right? of language, and that part is ignored here in audiolingual method. It focuses attention to the pattern practice, drilling, memorization, quite mechanical. Okay, right. And language form alone is considered while meaning is treated secondarily. The top priority is given to the form here also, and meaning is considered next, right? And a balanced importance is not given to all the 4 skills. Another problem, not given, right? Another problem in audio-lingual method, right? Okay. Hope the nature of audio-lingual method is clear to you all. Okay, now we were talking about 3 now, GTM, direct method, and this audio-lingual method. All the 3. Actually, there are many more, but when we talk about the old teaching methods, these 3 are there, right? Of course, GTM is the oldest method, and then direct method came in place of GTM, and also audiolingual method. All the 3 have 3 different unique features. No 2 methods are the same. Okay, so you have to have clear understanding about the differences. Right, then when we talk about the approaches, so far we were talking about methods, right? 3 methods there. Approaches are there. So under approaches, we are going to talk about structural approach. Here you have some idea about the difference between the 2 words, method and approach. Okay, see whether you understand that. Because you have to be clear with these terms now, right? What is method and what is approach likewise? Yeah, because this difference is given in relation to the structural method or structural approach. Then what do you mean by a method? Method is a body of techniques, and also methods also vary from person to person, from place to place, from subject to subject, right? But talking about approach, we don't have any such type of alternatives. Approach does not change according to person, place, subject, or topic of the lesson, nothing, right? Approach is fixed actually. But method can vary. Yeah, okay. So as we have to follow the structure quite ceremoniously without any fluctuation, it is structural approach, not structural method. So in structural approach, the structures have to be taught, right? The different structures form the subject matter to be presented. This is what is happening in structural approach. The structures have to be taught. That is why it is called structural. And this does not vary. Depending on these aforementioned factors. That is the key reason why we call it structural approach, not method, right? There is an idea by D.B. Srivastava. What does he say? Please go through this line. He says that structural approach is situation. Language can best be learned when its need is felt in a situation. Okay. Thus, a concrete relationship between explanation and content can be established. Right. So he draws parallel between structural approach and situational approach to language teaching, talking about language teaching. Right. And according to him, the language can be learned very well when its need is felt in a situation. So that is what he means by situational approach. And for him, structural approach is same with the situational approach. Right. This is essential in language learning. Talking about the structural approach, right? It makes use of situations in which meaning finds last expression, right? Okay, there are some examples also to understand the structural approach. We will have a look at this part. Yeah, main emphasis is laid on the mastery of structures. I am underlining the key ideas there. Mastery of structures or patterns of sentences and phrases, and also on the special features of the language which help in the construction of a sentence, such as word order, structural words, and a few inflections in English. These are the areas that are paid attention to in following the structural approach. Actually, what is emphasized here? Mastery of the structures, as the term itself says, or patterns, sentence patterns and phrases, even word order, right? Okay. Yes. So no two languages exactly go parallel in structure. Like example, I went to the market. Here, structure is considered to be SVO. This is an English sentence. No, I went to the market. SVO. What about the Tamil pattern then? If you want to tell this in Tamil language. Do you agree with this example? According to the Tamil language, the pattern would be SOV.
Yeah, ma'am.
And Sinhala? It is not mentioned here. But what
Yeah,
about
that is same.
same? Sinhala also the same. But English, it's totally the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Object and verb are changing, yeah, right. So this approach allows mother tongue at the initial stages mainly for explaining a situation. When some sentence pattern is to be practiced, situation is given prominence actually. It is explained there and it does not allow translation of structure. Does not allow, which is to be practiced because the same theme is presented in different structures in different languages. Theme is the same. Theme is the meaning. What I want to tell you is the same, irrespective of the language, right? Same thing. But how that meaning is expressed is totally different. Talking about the structure. Because structure of the Sinhala language is totally different from the structure of the English language. And also, similarly, structure of the Tamil language is totally different from the structure of the English language. So, therefore, the learners are given drill of the structures till a habit formation is made on the structures. Getting to know about the structure is very much emphasized through drilling. Drilling means repetition, right? Repeating the structures. And by way of that, forming habits, linguistic habits in relation to the structures is done in structural approach, because definitely in structural approach, these differences that are available among the languages on structure are highlighted. So the learner has to know the structure of the target language. But translation is not considered there, right? Otherwise, this method and the GTM, this structural approach and GTM would be the same. No. In structural approach, the translation was not given any prominence there. Yeah. The main aim of this approach is to give the learners LSRW skills, listening, speaking, reading, writing skills. And you have another idea by E.V. Gattenby, right? E.V. Gattenby. Yes, you can go through this line once. First, follow nature is a good piece of advice for the language teacher, right? As nature does show us a sure way to success, it is only common sense to follow her methods. where they are followed today in the schools of the world, there is very little failure to learn a language. Talking about nature, right? Follow nature is a good piece. Following, right? Piece of advice for the language teacher. Following the nature. Okay. It does not have the very big kind of, it doesn't create a very big kind of impression, but what he says is really correct. It's a valid expression. Talking about using this, may exposing the students towards nature, right? As a means of um, like getting to know the language. If they do so, there is very little failure in learning the language. That is what Gatenby says here, right? Okay, his idea. And there are some more information coming from the ideas of Menon and Patel, right? These are Indian educationists. According to them, objectives of structural approach are listed down here. There are several different objectives. See whether you understand this. To lay the foundation of English by establishing through drill and repetition. So you can see to lay the foundation of English by establishing through drill and repetition. So how is it happening? By using the structural approach, the teacher expects to lay the basis or the foundation about the English language within the minds of the learners via drilling and repetition. Okay. That is given prominence there. And to enable the children to attain mastery over an essential vocabulary of about 3,000 root words for active use. Right? Attaining mastery over an essential vocabulary about 3,000 root words. 3,000 root words, right? Not 3,000 words. Root words means if you know a root word, you can add either prefixes or suffixes and multiply the number of words you know. So can understand then about the nature of the vocabulary that is targeted to achieve, right? By using the structural approach. 3,000 root words means so many more words than 3,000. And to correlate the teaching of grammar and composition with the reading lessons. Grammar, composition is related to writing, and they are combined with reading lessons. To teach the 4 fundamental skills, LSRW, another objective, right? And to lay proper emphasis on the oral approach, active methods, and the condemnation of formal grammar for its own sake, right? Yeah, using formal grammar only for the sake of learning grammar, that approach is demotivated, condemned in structural approach. Rather than that, oral approach is emphasized. You know, oral means listening and speaking plus the other 2 skills anyway. So when you read these objectives, you would understand it's quite practical and targets to touch all the 4 areas, skill areas of the learner, right? Although we call it structural, it is teaching the structure while improving the other skills also. Not only giving prominence to the structure or the grammar type, right? There are principles. Importance of speech is there. Formation of language habits. Okay, here I have, okay, just check whether I should go into the details of this. Importance of speech is highlighted, right? Please read these parts on your own, right? Okay. And formation of language habits, that is also one principle there. Through pattern practice and drilling. Pattern drill is that, right? It's given mainly to give an opportunity to have habit formation. These two are very much highlighted in structural approach, right? Okay, so here you have some examples for pattern drill. Different types of pattern drills are there. Substitution drill, question answer drill, transformation drill, and expansion drill. Please check whether you have these examples in the note. I am not sure whether this part is added to your lecture material. Can you please check that? Please go through, and if you don't have this, you can take a photo or screenshot or something.
No, ma'am.
You don't have, me? Yeah, better to
Yeah.
do. Hope you understand what you mean by substitution rule. Teacher says, I like apples, and then students, I like apples, and then after that the teacher can teacher can substitute apples with oranges. I like oranges, and then students are repeating that I like oranges. You can find a substitution here, right? Apples and oranges. Substitution really is that, right? And question answer drilling. Teacher asks the question, where do you live? And the students are not repeating the same question there. They are answering, I live in London, right? And where does he live then? Teacher can substitute here. You, instead of you, he, or they likewise. And the students are drilling the answer pattern, right? I live in London and he lives in Paris. They live in New York likewise, right? Transformation drill. What's happening? Teacher says he is a teacher and students repeat, he is a teacher. Then teacher changes the sentence pattern. Is he a teacher? He is a teacher is a statement. Then teacher transform the statement into a what? Question, right? Affirmative question. Then students repeat after that. After that, the teacher transforms it into negative statement. Sorry, negative statement. Transforming the pattern. And then the students are repeating these patterns, right? Expansion drill. What about that? I think teacher's part is missing. Or anyway, teacher says he is tall. Please make a small correction, right? This part should come somewhere here. Okay, you understand? Teacher says he is tall and the student says he is tall, right? Simply repeating after that. Then what does the teacher do in the next utterance? He is tall and strong. Teacher expands the sentence by adding another adjective. Then student is repeating after that. Then the third level, he is tall, strong and handsome. Expanding more and more by adding more adjectives. Then the student is repeating after that. He is tall, strong and handsome like this. So I think there are teachers among you. Then which kind of drill, if you are using drilling to teach English to your students, which type of drilling is mostly used by the teachers? Which type?
Substitution drill and question answer drill, madam.
Give me 1 second, please. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, right. Yeah, may I know who was talking there? Could you
Sumaya,
please? Sumaya. Yeah. Yes. What did you say?
substitution drill and question and answer drill, madam.
Substitution drill and a question and answer. And expansion drill is also there, right? What about transformation drill? Not very common. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Most
Hmm.
proper to substitution and question and answer, madam.
Yeah, anyway, whatever the type, you need to decide according to the level of the students also, right? But the thing is this, now, for example, if the teacher does transformation drill while the students don't have any idea about the patterns, right? Sentence structures, the difference between a statement and a question like that, then no way, right? So according to the lesson and objectives of the lesson, and also according to the level of the students, these decisions should be taken as to which type should be used. And there may be more other different types of pattern drill available, right? These are only 4 types here. But you can be creative if you are a teacher in doing pattern drill with your students, right? Okay. So we are continuing principles there, right? Pupils' activity is given more importance as compared to teacher's activity, right? The structural approach takes care of actively involving both teacher and students for a better teaching. Yeah, students are not passive learners there. Their involvement is also given opportunity, right? They also are given the chance, right? And mastery of structures, another principle. Emphasis is given on learning structures rather than vocabulary. As the word suggests, it is the structural approach. So structures are given the prominence there in teaching and also in learning. And practice on all the language skills is done one by one on the same structure. Right? Yeah. Okay. And meaningful situations are there in structural approach. Because to avoid monotony, the teacher has to be innovative in creating meaningful situations, right? By using facial expressions, dramatization, and gesticulations, using gestures, right? Okay. And teaching one item of language at a time. That's another principle. One item of language at a time, not teaching everything together. Yeah. So students are introduced only one item at a time, and the familiar vocabulary is taken to teach the new structure, which means one item means one structure at a time. That structure is thoroughly taught to the learners, and they become very much familiar with the structure. After that, only another structure is started to be taught, right? So with the introduction of each and every structure or item, the relevant vocabulary is also discussed, right? And also taught. Okay, right. So these are the basic principles of the structural approach. And what about this one? You don't find, I think, this question in your lecture, no? What are the different types of meaningful situations that can be used to teach the structural approach to student teachers in relation to everyday life situations and role plays? Quite lengthy question, right? There are some suggestions given, but before that, I want you to think about this thing. Different types of meaningful situations. What are the meaningful situations that we can use to teach the structural approach to, okay, not to the learners whom you find in school, okay, to student teachers? Especially talking about everyday life situations and role plays. Can you guess some meaningful situations? By the way, I don't want to spend long time here. I need you to think about this thing, right? Focus your attention and get the idea. With that idea, here there are some examples, right? Different types of meaningful situations that can be used to teach the structural approach to student teachers like this. Everyday life situations, for example, classroom, home, and shopping, another situation, and travel, restaurant. In all these situations, we can teach to the learners, okay, about how to use language, paying attention to the necessary structures. Talking about classroom, teacher-student interactions, asking and answering questions and giving instructions. All these things are happening now, right? And talking about home, family conversations, making requests and expressing feelings, etc. There can be etc. And talking about shopping, buying groceries, bargaining and asking for prices. Talking about traveling, booking tickets, checking into hotel and checking out, asking for directions, these kind of things. And restaurant, in a restaurant, ordering food, paying the bill, complaining about service, right? So these are everyday life situations that can be used to practice, right? Or to teach about the structural approach to the students, especially to the student teachers. Then you focus the attention of those who are learning how to teach, right? These sort of everyday life situations can be used to make them understand about how to use the structural approach, because in each and every situation, you find different structures, especially in relation to the speaking aspect, right? Some expressions that can be uniquely used depending on these situations are there, okay? And role, okay, do you need to take this? I'm not thinking that you can write down. You can take a photo or a screenshot. If this is not available in the note, I don't think this is available.
Yeah, ma'am. It's
Yeah.
not available.
Can take a photo just to get some further idea about this.
Madam, can you please show the question, madam?
Sorry.
Thank you, madam.
Ma'am, can we expect these kinds of questions, ma'am, in the exam time?
The thing is this, right? Don't always expect direct questions. Direct questions means the questions that are directly focusing on the theory. For example, now you can expect a kind of mixture, right? But always you have to have the theoretical understanding, right? For example, what do you mean by direct method? Define direct method. If you get such a question, you should be able to give a very clear answer, right? A definition. With that sort of questions, at the same time, try to apply these things to your practical situation. Practical situation is the teaching learning process. So you, if any one of you is not a teacher, don't bother, right? You don't have to be a teacher to think about the practical scenario. But you can apply these things to the Sri Lankan context because you all have some understanding about the Sri Lankan education system now, right? How the schools are working in and how the English language is taught in Sri Lanka, and about the situation of the knowledge, English knowledge of the Sri Lankan students, especially talking about the rural and urban areas. So likewise, the practical aspect, you have to have some understanding, and that there will be some areas for you to apply this knowledge to the practical situation. Okay, otherwise just repeating what you have discussed here, what I have discussed and what you have listened. Same thing in the paper is not, that is not checking your understanding, no? Right? That is checking your memory. Checking memory is not expected at this level. It's a higher level, higher education level. Therefore, that is why I'm always telling there are certain areas, especially many areas, where you don't have to parrot, right? Don't try to learn by heart. Get the stuff to your mind. Get the point, get the idea to your mind, and when and where necessary, if you have the idea, you should be able to apply it to the practical situations. Okay, right? So this is also a question like that, practical question. What kind of situations are available in the society, in our practical day-to-day life, where you can use situational approach to teach the English language? That's the idea behind this question, right? Okay. This is, I hope that you would take photos, right? Not spending time to write down these things. Shall I go to the next set?
Okay, ma'am.
These are some role play scenarios. Yeah. Role plays, you know about the role plays, right? Like, for example, doctor, patient, job interview, and police officer and witness, and teacher, student, and customer service. In all these situations, you know, the functional aspect of language. What is happening? Why are you using language? For what? To get done what? Describing symptoms, giving advice, prescribing medication. These are the things usually happening between doctor and patient, the things that are communicated. Okay. There, what are the vocabulary items, what are the words, and what are the structures that are appropriate to be used in communicating this sort of information between doctor and patient. That is what you need to pay your attention to. As a teacher, that's what you should practice in your students. And talking about job interviews, answering questions, introducing oneself, negotiating salary, these kind of things. So I'm not going to read all these things. You can get some idea, right? Okay, right. Hope you got this image as well. And we continue with the advantages of structural approach and also limitations, because in each and every method we were discussing so far, we looked at both sides, right? Both advantages and disadvantages. Here also there are advantages, disadvantages. Please go through them and be familiar. Just I think these points will help you understand more about the nature of the structural approach. Okay, so I'm not going to read these lines again in my next session. Instead, I would move on to the discussion on communicative approach, which is a different approach, different from structural approach. Okay, and there we would be talking about CLT and all these things. And today our time is over now, right? So therefore, I'm going to wind up the discussion, and in the next day, I would continue with the communicative approach, right? You can see the coming topics here. Advantages and actually advantages are there, and CLT, eclectic, and these strengths, right? So meanwhile, I'll be sending the lecture materials also. So be ready for our next discussion. next Wednesday, I think. Yeah. I'm not sure, right? Just anyway, you will be informed about the lecture date. So we will meet again and we'll continue. Okay then, right?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
So good night, all of you.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night.
Right, madam. Thank you.